This is my review of the new Netflix movie Unfrosted, which is written by, directed by, and starring Jerry Seinfeld, who, of course, we all know from his own hit sitcom in the 90s. We also know that he made that show with Larry David. And since the show has finished, Larry has gone on to do his own sitcom, Curb Your Enthusiasm, which has been very successful. I think it's just wrapped up its final season after like 12 seasons. And a lot of people look back at that and go, like, I bet Larry was really responsible for a lot of the success of Seinfeld, especially since then we haven't seen Jerry do a whole lot, let alone do a lot of successful things. He did B Movie in 2007 and now this. So I don't know how much people were excited to see a Seinfeld led project, but I was curious, especially when I saw the topic of the movie and I considered, why would Seinfeld want to do this? Why, after 17 years of not making a movie, after having never starred in a live action movie, having never directed, why was Seinfeld like, I've got to go all in on this story? Then the movie started, and it wasn't long before I shifted my question from why did he want to tell the story to the how he wanted to tell this story. Because I can't believe how much Seinfeld apparently wants to be like Seth MacFarlane. Because this movie felt so much like a Seth MacFarlane movie. It was just silly, cartoonish bits chock full of throwaway pop culture references throughout. Now, the movie has a really impressive cast. I think that Seinfeld is probably one of those guys that calls someone up and says, I want you to be in my project, and people respect him enough, they're like, yeah, I'm in. That said, it's chock full of people who you'll recognize, but not exactly A-list talent, and some of the people in there might be a little divisive for whether or not you think it's a pro or a con for the movie. This includes, of course, Seinfeld himself, Jim Gaffigan, who's a stand-up I like, but don't always love seeing him in movies, Melissa McCarthy, whose shtick kind of wears on me, but I know a lot of people really like, Hugh Grant, who I like, except for that I feel like he's doing a lot of just paycheck movies these days. Hugh, let us know if you're like in debt to the wrong people or something. Your next interview, like, wink twice or something. Amy Schumer, who I've never really found that funny. Max Greenfield, who I really like from the show New Girl, but I'm beginning to get worried that Max is just never going to get another good role again. He's probably been in some good things I just haven't seen, but I'd like to see him in good things. The pros of this movie, there are some good jokes. There's some good cameos. I think the best bits are some of the cameos in the show. Some of them are funny just because of the cameo that it is. Some of them are funny because they get to do something actually funny. There is sort of a breakfast cereal nostalgia in this movie. And maybe I shouldn't even say nostalgia because, hey, I still eat kids' breakfast cereals. It's one of my favorite late night snacks. And there's something about the world that they created where breakfast cereal is so important to the fabric of American society, where people would leave NASA to do the important work of developing this breakfast pastry. The cons of this movie are that it's just really dumb. I talked about the cartoonish silliness of it, but then also the references are all adult references. So you're like, is this for kids or for adults? I don't know. A lot of jokes don't land. There was a lot of times that I thought there was setups for jokes and then no real punchline. And it made me wonder, like, did they just not finish the script? Like, they set it up and they're like, we'll put in a joke later, or on set we'll think of something, and then they just didn't have anything. Finally, like Seinfeld himself. I think when it comes to the acting, he's the weak link. I've never thought Seinfeld was like a good actor, but what he's at least good at is, and we saw this on his sitcom, be surrounded by characters and then just react to them. Have some funny little comments about it. But in this one, he's playing one of the silly, cartoonish characters, and Seinfeld just doesn't do that very well, I don't think. Overall, I'm going to give this movie a C minus. I think there are good jokes, like I said, in this movie. I did laugh some. But much like McFarlane's movie, A Million Ways to Die in the West, I think that the whole is not more than the sum of the parts. And I think its ultimate destiny is that it's going to be chopped up and clipped up for social media to be watched in little bits, and then the rest of it's just going to be forgotten.